Hello everyone and welcome back to Misconceptions in History, and today we are going to be looking at the only large-scale production fighter plane that was produced from before Pearl Harbor and produced even after the end of the war. That is the P-38 Lightning, also nicknamed the Fork-tailed Devil. Now that nickname comes from the fact that it was a fighter plane with a twin boom design, which gave it that very distinct tail section. Now, this was not a very common thing on a fighter at the time. In fact, most aircraft that had the twin boom design were cargo aircraft and transports. And in fact, the P-38 Lightning was the only propeller-powered twin boom fighter plane to be developed during World War II and mass-produced. But how did this design come about? Where did it come from? Let's go ahead and get into that. And like so many other things, the P-38 was designed out of necessity. 1937, the Army requested the development of a twin-engined, high-altitude interceptor having the tactical mission of interception and attack of hostile aircraft at high altitude. And while multiple aircraft manufacturers tried to answer this call from the military, it is Lockheed that went above and beyond. Lockheed ended up developing a secret engineering team nicknamed the Skunk Works. Now, the Skunk Works would go on to be famous for the development of aircraft such as the U-2, SR-71, the F-117, the F-22 Raptor, and the F-35. And they all get their start right here with the P-38 and its development. And they went through several phases and designs in order to basically create a unique interceptor fighter. By June of that year, they began production on their two prototypes, the XP-38 and the YP-38. And while it was an amazingly new and radical design, it had a lot of problems in its early days. One of the biggest problems is during a high-speed dive, it had something called compressibility stall. Basically, the controls would lock up during a high-speed dive, and you couldn't recover from it. Additionally, it had an issue known as buffeting, which basically was a tail shake caused by airflow disturbance across that twin boom design. Finally, after these bugs were worked out, these prototypes were armed and placed into production. By 1940, the production versions had started to arrive for the British and the French. However, once the fall of France occurred, the British basically took over their production order and ended up giving it its nickname, the Lightning. Now, the first American unit to receive the P-38 was actually the first fighter group. However, they received theirs right before Pearl Harbor attack, and once Pearl Harbor had happened, this unit joined the 14th Pursuit Group in San Diego to provide defense for the West Coast. They did not see real action until 1942 with the Australian Air Force. But the first scores for a P-38 actually came from the United States in May of 42 at the Aleutian Islands. And basically it was a pair of P-38s managed to catch a pair of Japanese Kawanishi H-6K Mavises flying boats and shoot them down, getting the P-38's first kills of the Pacific Theater. In the Atlantic Theater of combat, and that includes Mediterranean combat, Italy, North Africa, and Europe, and when I mean Europe, I mean Western Europe, it was basically a long-range bomber interceptor and protector for bombers, a role that would be later fitted by other aircraft such as the P-51. And while it was pretty decently successful during the European campaign of World War II, with even people such as Jimmy Doolittle, famous for the Doolittle raid, choosing it for his personal aircraft during the invasion of Normandy so he wouldn't get shot down by friendly fire, it wasn't until the Pacific Theater that the P-38 really showed what it was capable of. Now, because of its ability as a long-range aircraft, extremely reliable engines, it proved its worth being able to basically island hop and travel around the Pacific when needed without any issues. In the Pacific Theater alone, P-38s managed to shoot down more than 1,800 Japanese aircraft, with more than 100 pilots becoming aces. The ability to fight at these incredibly long ranges basically made the P-38 an invaluable weapon of World War II in the Pacific Theater. And it is because of that long-range attack capabilities that it would become the aircraft of choice to take down the man who led the attack on Pearl Harbor, Admiral Isakuri Yamamoto. 16 P-38s were sent in April of 43 to intercept Yamato's 2 transport aircraft and 6 Zero escort aircraft, and in order to basically remove him from ever being a future problem for the United States. They succeeded with only 1 loss. Now, after World War II, the jet age pretty much ruined any future use for most nations of the P-38. However, multiple countries, especially in Latin America, actually preferred them because of their reliability. And in fact, Honduras still had it as a part of their air fleet until 1965. They are still a highly sought after aircraft by airplane enthusiasts, so much so that in '92, a surviving P-38 found in a glacier in Greenland was retrieved and restored to flight-capable operations. So there you have it, a quick look at the P-38 Lightning, the Fork-tailed Devil, an aircraft that has a unique history, just as unique as its design. And because of this aircraft, Lockheed Martin developed the Skunk Works, which developed some of the most incredible aircraft ever put on this earth by the United States. So that's it for today. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you on the next time.